Good evening, Littleton. Welcome to the Select Board meeting, January 9th, 2023, first meeting of the new year. We are going to begin tonight's Select Board meeting with an executive session. Mr. Temporary Clerk, if you'd read the motion, please.
Move the Select Board vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct a strategy in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, police chief, deputy police chief, and deputy fire chief, and pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiation position of the public body for the Nagog Orchard. The Select Board will adjourn to executive session and will reconvene in open session after the executive session.
I do so declare.
Second.
Motion's been made by Mark, seconded by Cindy. This is a roll call vote. Mr. Rombacher?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Ms. Napoli?
Aye.
The chair is in favor. The vote carries 4-0. Thank you. We're anticipating returning at 6 p.m.
6:30.
Sorry, apologies, 6:30. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience. We are now back in session, in open session, following our executive session. We will begin, as we usually do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Rombacher, will you lead us? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. All right, a quick summary of tonight's meeting. Read the mail. Town clerk is going to request a public hearing to opt out of vote by mail for the next municipal election. We have a couple of donation acceptances and a contract with a contractor for munis conversion, followed by public input and members' updates. Then we will do some board appointments, some housekeeping on alcohol licensing, review the special town meeting warrant and adopt the articles, and 2 items under town administrator, inviting state legislators to a future meeting and discussing a wellness grant. Finally, we'll approve the minutes of December 19th. And let's hope we get out of here by 8:05. What do you think the chances are? Okay. Mr. Ansaldi, do you want to start us off with the mail?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the first thing is just a public notice that we placed it on our website. We're still looking for volunteers for some various committees. I just want to go through it quick because it is important. We've been talking about this and we really need participation. So we have 1 vacancy in the Economic Development Committee, 1 vacancy in the Littleton Cultural Council. We have 1 vacancy in the Master Plan Implementation Committee. There's 1 vacancy in the Open Space and Recreation Planning Committee, 1 vacancy for the Permanent Municipal Building Committee, 1 in the Sustainability Committee, 1 in the Transportation Advisory Council, and 1 in the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is a vacancy. And certainly if any resident has any questions, what it takes, they can always reach out to our office and we'll be happy to walk them through that. The next item we have is Verizon, effective on January 31st. Those that look at Yahoo Finance HD programming on channel 604, it will no longer be available. Miaras and Harrington Town Council would like to thank us. It was a pleasure doing business, and they make a donation in the town's name to Loaves and Fishes for calendar year 2022. The next item is we received a letter from the Mass Municipal Association that we received 3rd place for the annual town report. They knocked us off at number 1, so we'll have to up our game and try to regain that again. 4-year stretch, but and the last thing, some good news is once again we received a Green Communities grant for $74,000, and this was great work by Diane Dickerson because it's very competitive and she does a great job communicating with DER and So these are great, and these impact some of the capital requests that we have going on in the budget for FY '24, which we have 3 hybrid vehicles, 2 of the cruisers. And just to report, the cruisers that we bought last year, we actually saw a 45% decrease in gasoline usage.
Great.
So that's really, really good news. So we're going to get 2 more cruisers that are going to be hybrid, and then the fire chief's vehicle will also be hybrid. So saving money, and as well as they're putting $7,500 towards the electric vehicle that is in the budget for this year. That's the F-150 Lightning that would be used by the building and Park and Rec. And $22,500 for expand the EV charging stations here at Town Hall.
Nice.
We put 2 more here, and we'll put 1 at the police station. And it's something that we envision continuing on because, you know, we'll need them in the schools for teachers and so forth. So this is a great start. And Nick Lawler said that he will work with us on whatever they can do to assist us and hope to save some costs on the installation of
Great.
those. There will be additional costs, though, to it, but that's great. And then we just have some administrative, $8,000 administrative costs that they funded too. So that's a great work, and that's really exciting for that grant. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you very much. Ms. Crory, good evening.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. Basically, I'm here this evening. As you all know, last year the legislators decided that to add to the clerk's office the decision to add the local elections to do vote by mail. The only way that we can't do it is by having you do a public hearing and do an opt-out option. So that's why I'm here this evening, to ask you to hold a public hearing on January 23rd and have the public hearing and request that you do that.
Comments from the board?
I talked to you about this earlier.
Yep.
Can you just clarify the difference between absentee voting and,
Sure, so absentee voting will remain. So everybody that is not able to get to the election can still do the absentee voting, so that will not change at all. So that'll still be available, so anybody can do that. And the only thing is that this is the vote by mail, which has been done since 2020. And the legislators just decided last year that all elections now have that option, not just the presidential and primaries and general elections.
Which is one of the 2 unfunded mandates that they
Correct.
added, with adding police details for every single time that we do early voting. This would have been another unfunded mandate that town would have had to pick up the expense of issuing cards or something to every resident to let them know and so forth, so. Something that we certainly didn't budget for.
So this seems like, I know initially it was something to reach the maximum amount of voters in a
That's
city.
correct.
Cities seem to be
Yeah,
much
so
more.
in the odd years, the state does not send out the postcards.
Yep.
That would be on the town clerk's office, but that part is not mandated.
Okay.
So we would not be required to send out postcards. So it would be on the residents
To request them.
themselves to request
Okay.
to
That was-
vote by mail.
And this speaks to every year. So even on presidential elections, you still have the opt-out?
We would still have to opt out.
And
So
every
have
year,
to-
we get to decide as a board whether that,
Every year this happens. So if you decide on an even year that you want to
yeah.
do the vote by mail, then you could do the vote by mail. So, but this is a vote that has to occur every single year.
Okay.
Ms. Napoli, do you have any comments?
I don't.
So my question is just around your workload. So if you don't have to mail out the cards, is the primary problem just processing the mail-ins and double-checking against the rolls when people vote on vote?
Yeah, so what
Election day.
happens is if somebody requests a vote by mail right now, if we don't send out, so on an even year, it may sound weird, but on an even year, the state sends out a postcard to every voter. It will now include local elections. So the option will be, if you want to vote by mail, that they get to check off the local elections.
Okay,
However, if we take the local option as an opt-out, that comes off the table, even on an even year.
Okay.
If we opt out. However, on the odd years, that doesn't happen through the state. The state doesn't send out those postcards. So the postcards don't go to anyone through us or the state. So the option is now on the residents during the odd years. So anybody that wants to vote by mail has to send the town clerk's office something through the mail with their signature stating that they want to vote by mail,
okay,
unless we opt out through the public hearing. So it would now, if we decide not to opt out, we decide to go and do the vote by mail, now we still have to, it's on the resident no matter what. So everything that comes in through the resident voters, we have to put everything together, put a packet together and send out to the residents.
okay,
So that's the added burden to our office, which means we have to put this packet together, which is like a absentee ballot. It's just, now we have to get the extra packets together with the new, on the ballot, it's now going to say early voting and absentee voting on it. So
Okay.
it's different printing as well.
okay.
So everything's going to change.
I'm in favor of at least definitely holding a public hearing. Any objections?
No.
Okay. We have a motion?
Move the select board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 54, Section 25B, A1, to schedule a public hearing for January 23rd, 2023, for the purpose of opting out of vote by mail for the municipal election on May 6th, 2023.
Second.
Roll call.
Roll call vote, thank you. Motion made by Mark, seconded by Cindy. Roll call vote, Mr. Rombacher?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Ms. Napoli?
Aye.
And the chair's in favor. Motion carries 4-0.
Great.
Thank you.
So much. See you on the
Couple weeks.
23rd.
So that'll be posted on the town's website to have the hearing for the next meeting.
Very
So
good,
we'll
thank
make
you.
sure that's done tomorrow.
Great. Okay, acceptance of donations. Good evening.
I would have covered this for you, Nicole. Thanks for hanging around.
No problem. I get to miss bedtime for this,
Oh,
so
there you go.
it kind of works out.
Just my arm, right?
So we have 3 gift donations tonight. The first is from FIBA Technologies. The Department of Elder and Human Services is requesting approval of a donation of $5,000 from FIBA Technologies for the EHS Resident Emergency Assistance Fuel and Energy Fund. The EHS department has seen a huge increase in requests for assistance with fuel, utilities, and household bills lately. So this donation is greatly appreciated. Should I go through them all? Okay. And the second one is a donation of $2,000 from Mark Rembacher for the Resident Emergency Assistance Fund. This is, again, a huge need right now, of course, this time of year, and especially with the rising costs. So we're extremely grateful for your generosity.
Never heard of him. Thank you, Mark.
And we also have one last one, a donation of $1,008 from the Loving Stitches Knitting Group for the TREAD Fund, which is tax relief for the elderly and disabled, which is completely run by donations. So we are so grateful for all the donations.
Thank you.
here. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, ready for a motion?
Want to make that motion?
Sure.
Okay.
Move the select board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, and per its policy on solicitation and acceptance of monetary and non-monetary gifts for public purpose, to accept donations to the Department of Elder and Human Services, EHS, in the amount of $1,008 from Loving Stitches Knitting Group for the TREAD Fund for the purpose of tax relief to the elderly and disabled, $2,000 from Mark Rambacher for the Residential Emergency Assistance Fuel Assistance Fund, and $5,000 from FIBA Technologies for the Residential Emergency Assistance Fuel Assistance Fund.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Gary. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, contract with Clifton Larson Allen.
I'll take that, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you. So we have in the packet today a contract with CLA for two purposes. One is to work with us through the Munis upgrades that needs to be done because Munis will be servicing a version that they have. So that is a $40,000. And then we also worked out with CLA to provide interim accounting support when the finance director, after the finance director leaves, until we have another finance director. So it's a not to exceed. We hope to not have somebody in place, but this would at least get us through.
Great. Any comments from the board?
What account are these funds coming out of?
They're coming out of the, within the accounting department's budget, within the finance budget.
Okay.
Any other comments?
No.
If not, ready for motion?
Move that the select board vote to approve two contract agreements with Clifton Larson Allen CLA for one, financial software Munis upgrade implementation assistance services for a not to exceed amount of $40,000, and second, interim professional services for accounting support for a not to exceed amount of $40,000.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded.
I have discussion, just real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead.
So on the financial software, I noticed the upgrade implementation assistance services. I'm assuming that means training all current staff, or?
Not
personnel
necessarily. There's a lot of testing that has to get done. So once you upgrade to the newest version of Munis, then you have to kind of go in there and try to do every transaction that we do, and they would help coordinate that to make sure that, we try to break it, is what you basically try to.
It's already existing in Munis, we're just turning it on, is that correct?
Well, the upgrade is something that we're doing, so we've already committed to the upgrade, and we just need assistance now that, with the finance director not being here, somebody to just kind of run the point on it.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, great.
It's been moved in second.
And Mark, I'm sorry, we have salary savings for the fiscal analyst, and then we have some contracted services, so there's money that we're not using that's paying for that.
Okay. All motions been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you all. Public input. Is anyone here for public input?
Brian Tarbuck, 16 Fletcher Lane, member of, but not speaking for FinCom. But I am speaking about a finance thing. So I want to talk about the Indian Hill purchase. And that when I first heard about Indian Hill purchase, it was ostensibly for the senior center. And last time I was here, I was sort of shocked to find that that had changed. And I think, and it had changed such that it was going to be used for somewhat unspecified purposes, the town offices, park and rec, and so on. And I think that's a terrible idea. And I want our boards, and here's where I tread the line, I want our boards to be in consensus. And to get to consent, I think we are not yet in consensus. So I'm just think of this as a friendly heads up from someone who just happens to be on that board that consensus is needed. And one of the things that I see is going down the list of big capital projects that we know are coming down the pike. 10 million for Shaker, 4 million for the high school, 18 million for the senior center, 4-ish for purchasing Indian Hill. No one has said it, but we all know that if we purchase it for the town offices, there'll be a budget item coming soon for a couple $1 million to do renovations. Let's not pretend that's not going to happen. That comes to, by my calculations, about $39 million of capital projects that we know are coming down the pike in the next few years. With my finance hat on, I don't think we can afford that. I've heard that there was a report done evaluating Indian Hill, and that the report said it wasn't suitable for a senior center. I read the report, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I missed it, but I saw it say no such thing. I, in fact, saw it say that it's very ADA compliant. So the notion that people have said, oh, we couldn't use it for the senior center, Someone point where I missed it, and I'll back down. But I didn't see that. People will say, well, we've already put some money into the existing spot for the senior center. That's the sunk cost fallacy, and it's a sunk cost fallacy. The fact that you've spent money on something doesn't mean it's still a good idea. We've also heard the notion that we can defray the cost of the purchase of Indian Hill because we can find money that's been laying around in other articles and so on. You know, we, in the good old days, we used to find, say, FinCom can always find you a couple $100,000 in the seat cushions. But that's money that could be used any place, okay? That's money that could be used, put against the high school roof or anything. So I'm asking you to reconsider the notion of purchasing Indian Hill for a senior center. I think we could save the town $8 to $10 million and give the seniors a center sooner than they would otherwise get it. So, you know, how often do we get to say, I think I could save the town $10 million? It's like, it's worth at least talking about. That's all I'm saying, is it's worth talking about. And so when it comes, so my actual ask is, and sorry I'm going over long, but when you vote the motion tonight, okay, if you haven't before town meeting, and I know time is short, if you haven't gotten around to thinking about maybe we'd use it for the senior center, imagine some fine citizen got up at town meeting and said, and amended the by motion to say, for use as a senior center. I can easily imagine Tim Goddard saying that's out of the four corners of the motion. Unless you make the motion that you approve for town meeting tonight flexible enough to allow such a motion. We're trying to squeeze things into such short time, and we want to work together. Oh my God, we want to work together. This has been a great cycle, so we want to keep that going. So I would ask you, consider, maybe I'm nuts, but consider maybe saving $10 million and consider writing the motion such that it's amenable to amendment. Amenable to amendment at town meeting floor.
Thank you.
So, okay. Go consensus. That's what we're going for.
I do, well, it's certainly worth a conversation, and I'm trying to figure out how we could do that. Like, I would be very interested in hearing FinCom's input on this.
So you're going to have that opportunity? You have 3 budget meetings set up?
Yeah.
For the 17th, what was it, the 17th, 24th, and 5th?
Okay.
So you'll have plenty of opportunities to discuss that, especially after the Super Saturday, that when you normally talk about some of this stuff.
Yeah, what I would like, and Mr. Tarbuck, obviously that's a personal opinion, and it's probably your opinion as well on the board, on FinCom's, his opinion on FinCom. So
Yeah.
I would like to definitely hear FinCom's opinion. I mean, I'm assuming some might just be whether it's viable to purchase it or not. The only thing left out of, I think, some of the discussion was we still don't have a place to put what we were going to put down there. So that's the other piece missing. Where are we going with the rest of the town offices and things like that? We still need a building. If we didn't,
We were going to put where?
in other words, if we put the seniors,
like
we
where-
would still
yeah,
need something
okay.
unless
All right.
unless they stayed right in the current
No,
building.
I agree
which
that
doesn't- so-
all of those things should be considered,
Yeah.
but I am interested in, I think that Brian hit on some valid points about like the expenditures that are coming up in front of us that we need to be very
Right, more
cognizant
importantly
of.
for FinCom as a group to discuss.
I think that's absolutely right, and that's what I do want to have that conversation, so.
So I think that board needs to be brought in, well, they're going to be brought in.
They're gonna
But I
be
think it should
brought
be
in
on the
and-
agenda. That discussion should be on the
This is-
agenda for the next
it-
3 meetings, if we can't discuss it, if it's
It
outside
can
the
be
scope.
sure, it can be on the agenda. I wouldn't advise continuing discussion about it because it's not on the agenda tonight.
Agreed.
Yeah,
So
just
public
kinda-
input is
we don't
for
really
get
have to-
information, and
okay.
then at some point, if the
Got it.
board, we could put on another agenda.
Yes.
But just to let you know, there is opportunities during the budget process
Okay.
to have those discussions.
Yeah, as long as we can.
So just from Brian's point, if we're setting the warrant tonight, do we have any special wording that we can or should put in?
It says municipal use. That's pretty
Okay.
broad.
Okay, thank you. Any other public input? If not, we'll go to members' updates. Mr. Rombacher?
So I was just going to say the senior center well, we haven't actually done anything in the senior center project for a meeting as a group for about a month, but it is, the plans are progressing. The current construction schedule has us going to construction, I believe, at the end of August. And we talked previously, or actually the previous board talked as well about, I think there's a lot of ducks we have to get in line before we actually start construction, and we need to start figuring that out. Like, we talked about changing the traffic pattern on Shattuck Street. If we're going to do that, we need to start figuring that out. We have to, when the construction happens, the tennis courts are disappearing there. Somewhere in the construction schedule, we have to figure out what we're doing. Are we just relining the ones there? Are we trying to expedite new courts? What are we going to do? We just need to start lining things up, and I don't know how necessarily we do this. I don't want to necessarily put more work on Anthony and his team, but we also can't just wait till August and say, oh, look, we're going to start construction and then start, fighting fires. So I'd like to figure out what fires we need to start addressing sooner on some of those, so. And I don't know how best to
You don't know how
approach
to do
that.
it. Okay.
So,
We will have something on the agenda for the next meeting, because there is a contract that we have to approve to do the design to connect 31 Shattuck Street to the town sewer system. So that will be on. So I mentioned to Brian, perhaps, I don't know if you were on that email, perhaps that's a good opportunity to maybe come in and just kind of talk about the project and just provide a little bit of an update, because it's been a while since the board has heard from somebody other than Mark and myself with this.
and the other update I have is the beautiful solar panels on the library should be operational next week.
Nice.
So, we'll,
Cross your fingers.
yeah, finally have all the parts, so.
Mr. Wilson?
Happy Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. I don't want to miss that. That was something that I actually saw on the news, and then I saw that the police had posted something on Facebook about it too. So thank you for all that you do, emergency services. I'd like to know who beat us in the town report so we can get on them at the MMA in a couple of weeks. But so that's the other thing. Just look forward to going to the MMA in a couple of weeks. So I don't know if everybody's going or who's committed to that.
I'm not, no.
You're not?
This year.
But it's definitely usually a very good meeting.
Yeah, some good forums.
Yeah, learn a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Ms. Napoli?
Thank you. So I just wanted to give the board an update on the Durkee Farmhouse. I had mentioned at the prior meeting that the Affordable Housing Trust wanted me to go back to Dave Guthrie, who was the builder that was going to donate the house to the town, to see if he would be interested in maybe undertaking the conversion of that house into an affordable housing unit, as opposed to us putting it out for an RFP. I did put feelers out to Mr. Guthrie, and he just hasn't gotten back to me. So I will continue to try to follow up with him on that. To follow up on the previous discussion we just had regarding Indian Hill Arts, I was just going to ask Ryan if he could recirculate the information about the space needs report that he had pulled out for the board a few months back. Maybe just recirculate that to us.
What was that for? I'm sorry.
Indian Hill.
Space needs on Indian Hill. I think that we should have that information, and FinCom should have that information as
We
well.
passed it out.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
It's on the town's website, too.
Yeah, it was Brian's request.
Oh, it is on the website? Okay.
We can send,
Yeah, we'll send you a link.
Okay, all right, awesome, thank you. And the only other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to acknowledge Sleep in Heavenly Peace, which is a local organization here in town run by Chris Alphin, the owner of Dolphin Insulation. I don't know how many people are on social media, but if you see their posts about the number of beds that they build, what Sleep in Heavenly Peace does is it takes donations of lumber and labor, and they build beds for families, for children in Massachusetts that don't have one. And it's really shocking to me that you see the number of children in our municipality, in the state of Massachusetts and other surrounding states as well, that don't have a bed to sleep on every night. So I just really wanted to acknowledge the work that group does, especially Chris Alphin, who's really making that his his kind of number one initiative. I think it's really such a great benefit, and I'm proud to have him part of our community. I think it's such a special organization. And I wanted to mention that they're in need of twin bed sheets. And so the pantry at the Baptist Church up at the Town Common is actually taking donations of twin bed sheets. If anyone wants to drop them off there, they will definitely get to delivered over to sleep in heavenly peace and benefit some children in our community and beyond. So
Great.
that's
So
all.
if they wanted to drop a box off at our office, we could collect it for them, if that makes it easier.
Okay, sure, yeah, I'll mention that. That's great, thank you. And that's all.
Great, thanks. Nothing from me. So we'll move on to appointments.
Appointments. The first appointment is for the Economic Development Committee. You have one vacancy, I mentioned earlier, and you have one applicant, Russ Kupperstein of 7 Mill Road. Not sure if he's here. Oh, he is here.
Good evening. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Hi, Russ Cooperstein.
Kupperstein.
Yeah, so I heard about the vacancy for economic development, was really interested in the opportunity to get involved in something that I don't have a very large background in. I've worked most of my career in education and have really kind of touched on business and entrepreneurship and development in different ways through the school systems that I've worked in. So I've worked in 7 different districts. Most of the work that I've done has been kind of community service project relationships with businesses, raising the visibility of different careers through school to career pathways, looking at economic or entrepreneurship simulations within the school system and incorporating business leaders in the education that we provide to students. And I'd love to be a part of community engagement with businesses within Littleton to really have a downtown, raise the profile of local businesses and buying local, and all kinds of things that really, improve the quality of life and the quality of the businesses and economic programs we have within the town that make it a great place to live. And just full disclosure, I'm relatively new to Littleton. I recently moved here from out of state. I've been here for about 6 months or so. Really enjoyed it. My son, my wife, and I have already, really benefited from being in the community, and I'm looking forward to being a part of something and being involved in a productive way.
Well, thank you for volunteering your time. It sounds like you'll bring a unique insight into that committee. So our esteemed colleague, Mr. DeCoste, who is not here tonight, is the select board representative on that. But yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, that's great.
Excellent.
For both.
All right.
So I just have one, I don't have a question so much for him, but we talked about changing committees so that they had term limits or terms. Do we want the Economic Development Committee to come back and redo this?
Yeah, one of the things they always struggle with is getting a quorum, so now that we will eventually, when he's sworn in, then we'll have a full committee. They can go discuss that and then bring it back, their recommendations, like we did with the
Sustainability. And other-
sustainability,
Yeah, because
right.
I think just having boards with no expiration discourages people from applying.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, we'll put that on. We'll pass that information on to the chair.
Great. Ready for a motion?
Okay.
Yeah.
Move that the select board vote to appoint Russ Cooperstein as a member of the Economic Development Committee for a term with no expiration.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Cindy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0. Please get sworn in to the town clerk. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Zoning Board of Appeals.
Sure, you have, there is a vacancy for an alternate position. We have 2 applicants that submitted, Darrell Bacon, James Garrity, and we have a letter from the ZBA, Sherry Gould, who spoke with them and is recommending Darrell Baker at this time. And I'm not,
And if I may, I think Mr. Garrity had dropped out,
Oh,
which makes it
that-
even
yes.
easier for the board to make that decision tonight.
yeah, thank you, Ryan.
Okay.
So that's an easy one.
Any other comments, discussion?
It's not here tonight.
No?
Forgot all
Okay.
about that, thank you.
Ready for a motion?
Sure. Move the select board vote to appoint Daryl Baker as an alternate to the zoning board of appeals for a term expiring June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Cindy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. All right, on to licensing.
So the next item up is the 2023 ABCC renewal certification form. So after we go through the process of having entities renew their applications with the select board, we then report back to the ABCC. Nobody's not reapplied this year, so we're basically sending the form back that says that, and then we send them, and then also in the packet is the revenue that was generated from the licenses.
And no issues this year.
No issues.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Any
that's-
comments or questions? If not, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move the select board vote to sign the ABCC renewal certification form for 2023.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Cindy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0, and we will sign.
Next up, Mr. Chair, is we have a application for a lodging house license approval. Littleton Inn has changed hands to AMR Realty Investments. And that is Mr. Rubenstein, or Stein, if I said that, Stein, I'm sorry. Mr. Rubenstein's here to tell us about what they're doing.
Good evening.
Sure, good evening. Thank you for seeing me. My name is Andrew Rubenstein. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I did write a brief letter on behalf of my wife and myself. Just the biggest thing about the Littleton Inn now is a change of clientele. It was more of a touristy bed and breakfast. We're just going to be using it similarly, but it's more of a focus on traveling medical professionals, because there's a desperate need for that. If anybody's involved in the, or knows anything about the healthcare industry, they are screaming for jobs. They are dying for, not literally, but figuratively, hopefully, dying for jobs, and they are bringing in travelers. Like, there's an entire industry with this. So we've just changed our focus to accommodating them, because often they come into town for a relatively short term, couple of months to 6 months, and they come with a carload of stuff, and that's about it. And we're seeking to provide them housing in the local inn. And that's the.
You did take out the industrial kitchen that was there, right? Or the-
Yeah,
so that's-
the stove's being removed. There is no, it's just going to be replaced with a standard stove, and that's all.
Right, so in the past, Littleton Inn has come before you for the lodging house and as well as a common vic. The common vic is not required because he's not going to be serving.
Correct, yeah, we're not going to be serving any food or anything else like that.
Food or beverage. Yeah.
Just streamlining a little bit.
Correct, yeah, it's simplified it. We've done some cosmetic updates as well as updating some electrical, because despite what we thought, there was a lot more knob and tube wiring in there than previously anticipated, but that was all taken care of.
Very good. Any questions or comments from the board? If not,
Welcome to town.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful.
I had
Yes.
one question. So I noticed the residency sometimes can be months. What is your, I don't know the law, on how long you can have literally someone that stays? Because it could be, is it a year where you, all of a sudden there's a residency issue that you have? If a person,
Yeah, I mean, it's generally not, because these contracts are, the medical contracts
Yeah.
that they have with them are usually 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
That's as long as they go.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of times, the hospitals won't allow somebody to re-up for more than 6 months.
I see. Okay.
Because they want to cycle them through, or they're filling a gap. These hospitals are filling a gap
Yeah.
in employment, and that's generally
see.
speaking how that goes.
Great, thank you.
Is that traveling nurses too?
Yeah, traveling medical professionals. So
Right.
like my wife is a CT manager, so she has CT technicians,
Yeah.
X-ray techs. Basically, anybody in the hospital with a professional degree that's not a doctor is, that sort of middle category. All of the people that work for the hospital, where the doctors sometimes, but most of the times, are independent contractors within the hospitals.
and I see there's no issues from police, fire, or the building inspector, so
Welcome to town.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Thank you
It's
so
a
much.
great use of that property.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
okay, ready for a motion.
Move the select board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 140, subsection 22 to 32, to approve the lodging house application for the change of ownership for the Littleton Inn located at 423 King Street, Littleton, Mass. 01460, requested by owner Andrew Rubenstein, AMR Realty investment.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Cindy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, next up is, we have Dirigible Brewing Company back, and they're looking to, this is simple, to change their hours. They were Thursday through Friday, 3 PM to 11. They'd like to change that through 11 AM to 11 PM, Monday through Saturday, and 11 AM to 7 PM on Sunday. And I want to just thank Chris and Colin for hosting. They hosted our Christmas party for our staff.
A lot of fun, yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. They did a great job. Staff really enjoyed it, so I just want to thank him and again for his hospitality, because it was a great night.
Good work.
Thank you.
So you're
That's very
expanding
much.
hours. That seems like good news.
Yeah, so we're looking just for a little bit more flexibility. Take, for example, Martin Luther King, week from today, right? Yeah. I'd love to be open for it because a lot of people get the holiday off, and give a place to hang out. Really kind of came to mind the day before Thanksgiving, one of the biggest days of the year. I'm like, I can't serve beer. So we're just looking for more flexibility. We're going to still keep our Thursday to Sunday, but open up on the odd day here or there.
Great.
So you're not going to be open every day?
Not until I get more bodies in the building.
Very good, okay, thank
You
you.
hope that that's the plan.
So I can't call you when I'm having a bad Monday.
Well, I mean, if the motion passed, absolutely.
Not that you're bribing him. Any other comments from the board?
No.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Move the select board vote to approve the request from Chris Loring, CEO, Dirigible Brewing Company, 24 Porter Road, for amended operating hours for the taproom pouring permit and entertainment licenses, Monday through Saturday, 11 AM to 11 PM, and Sunday, 11 AM to 7 PM.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Cindy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, special town meeting article, warrant.
All right, so there's, you have to review the warrant, you have to, hopefully just approve the order that we put together. We did put some thought into that. Vote to insert these articles, and then vote to close the warrant and direct the posting. So, we're happy to go through up on the screen is the town meeting warrant. So Article 1 will be bills of prior year. Go to the actual article, yeah, please. I can't see that, but there's just, why don't you go through it, Ryan, just to read the quick, what the
Okay.
bill of prior year.
So two items that were bills of prior year. First is a bill from KP Law that we received, of course, after the fiscal year ended. And there's two other separate bills, bills in FY21 and FY22. This is for veterinary services bills. For whatever reason, there was a mix-up in getting these bills to the town for processing. I believe we've corrected the methodology that we've received those bills moving forward, so they'll be going to the police department so that we don't run into this issue again. But in the interim, we do have these other bills from prior year that we do need to pay. So
That's Article 1.
Article 1.
So Article 2, we discussed, this is just to give us the flexibility, or the select board, the flexibility to change town meeting from a definite May 1st date to some date within that week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, perhaps, going later in the week is probably not as desirable, but certainly before the election. So while this is going on now, it won't take place for this annual election. We'll be still stuck with the May 1st date, because this probably won't be approved in time by the Attorney General's office. So this will take place for next year.
Okay.
Article 3 is to reprogram and rescind Park and Rec Enterprise Fund. So this is some financial cleanup that Alicia, actually the next few articles of financial cleanup that Alicia wanted to put into this warrant. Article 4 is to amend the LCTV FY23 budget. The Article 5 is amend the LELWD's financial budget, and that's just to pay for some debt service. Again, it's more housekeeping. There's no real substance behind those. Article 6 is the allocations that came back from the state were slightly different than what was voted at the last town meeting, so this is kind of a cleanup now that we know the exact dollar amounts that, or the amount that we received as the state match on that. The next one is Indian Hill. That is for the town to consider the purchase of Indian Hill. Do you want to go, what is,
Sure.
I can't see that.
Sure, so the motion, the draft motion is to see if the town will vote to acquire by purchase, gift, eminent domain, or otherwise on such terms and conditions as the select board may determine all or a portion of the property located at 32 and 36 King Street, and then mention the assessor's map, for general municipal purposes. As Anthony mentioned, that's what the motion is. It's for general municipal purposes, so Brian had mentioned really some concerns about that in terms of the motion. I would think that would be flexible enough. And to authorize the select board to accept the deed to the town for a fee simple interest or less, and raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds a sum or sums of money for the acquisition of 3236 King Street, or take any other action related thereto. So,
Yep, so that's Indian Hill. Next article is Article 8, and that's to rescind and reprogram some prior capital. So when we go through the budget process, we look, our policy says any capital project that's out there been 3 years, it's time to close it, right? And a lot of the projects were done, but they have a little bit of a balance left over on those. So in cleaning this up, there's 3 or 4 articles in here that we still use for facilities, for town hall. It's an old building, and we constantly have pipes breaking and so forth, and shifting around with the library. We're still going through that. So there's $300,000 that's included in here that we just, instead of 4 articles, we'd like to put it into 1 article for cleaning purposes, easier accounting. And then the additional money, I know you may have heard me say before, and I think Brian referenced that, there might be somewhere in the $250 range that at first we thought maybe applying that towards the purchase of Indian Hill. We since have backed off of that, because what we realize is that if the town does accept the purchase of Indian Hill, we will need to do some design and engineering services to see what in fact we need to do to upgrade the building. So we need a little pool of money to do that. That roughly $250,000 could handle that. It could also handle, Mark, you mentioned tennis courts. We could use the design services for that purpose. We also could use, what was the other thing? Indian Hill. Yeah, I don't know if there was a third one. But, the orchard. Thank you, Gary. I just came to my mind too. So the orchard too. So, there could be, we did have an unfortunate incident where the heat shut down, and we did have a pipe break, and we have to do some work. So I don't know what insurance is going to pay, but we may have to come up with some out-of-pocket cost. That $250,000 would also be there to help remediate some of the remediation that we have to go through with getting that building to be completely dried out again, which we are in the process of already doing that. So that pool would give us to handle those, and then the other $300,000, $350 or so that we already had for facilities and infrastructure and work, we'd still have that to do that.
Great.
I have a question, Mr. Chair. Do we know why some of these projects didn't go forward? Why they weren't?
Some of them just have a balance left, so like the
traffic signal at like 125,000 as an example.
Yeah, the
Right.
traffic, there was actually 2 different warrant articles for a lot more money, and then they came in less than what we thought.
Right. So I'm looking at like article for the space needs, the 204,000, then another
That's the 3 that,
7,689.
yeah, that's the 3 that I was talking about. Those were for repurposing the space at the library and dealing with, we had that pipe break in one of the sewer pipes that broke. You know, we don't have a funding source to handle that, and in an old building like Town Hall, we need to have funds available. So that's what those space needs articles were for.
Right. So it wouldn't be beneficial just to have that money still set aside, or?
Yeah, we would. Instead of 3 different or 4 different articles, Cindy, we put them into one. It's just so it's clean purposes, but still put
Gotcha.
that money aside.
So,
for that
okay,
purpose.
perfect. Yeah, there was another one
It's
in
just
here
housekeeping,
too, I
'cause it was
know.
like 4 different small articles that did the same thing, and
There's another one, 71,000 for facility
Yeah.
improvements, PMBC, so same concept. I
Same
think.
concept,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha.
Same sort of bucket idea, that it's still facility-based and
Okay.
facility
so what happens when
needs-based.
these bills come in, somebody may get it and apply it to one account.
Yeah.
Instead of applying it to the oldest account and kind of cleaning it up.
Okay.
That's why I just said, let's just have one article so we don't
Okay.
keep doing that.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
So this will clean up all old capital accounts older than 2020?
Older than 2020.
Has it been a while since this has been done, or is this?
We go through the process every year. So last year, we did the same thing, and we repurposed, I think we repurposed $80,000 that, I forget what we did with it, but we repurposed it to another project
Okay.
at the time.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I'm just,
Yeah, every year we go through that
Yeah,
process, because
okay.
you don't want to leave these hanging.
Sure.
You know, some of it, like I said, is just, they've exhausted it, you know, and there might be $3,000 left, and the warrant article may have been for $60,000.
I
Sure.
gotcha.
okay.
There's probably a little bit more cleaning up that we have to do to that article, so I'll probably bring back a cleaner version at the next meeting, and we'll probably have to do a handout, but we'll try to clean up as much as we can, and then we'll go through at the next meeting.
Is there any advantage to doing an update in February versus just waiting till May?
If, we want to have funds available if town meeting says, yes, let's get.
No, I
we
mean,
do-
if you found $500,000 or whatever here, and if you're going through and cleaning up more, is there any advantage to putting anything extra now versus waiting to doing it in May?
No, I think we've covered everything that we possibly can right now.
So 8 of these articles would have come up in May if we didn't have a special.
Yeah, we would have just put this for, right. But
8 of the 10.
because we figure we might as well do a little bit of house cleaning and housekeeping, and just do this prior to the annual, and
Yeah.
maybe have a,
Well, in theory, we just saved 8 articles from May.
yeah, in theory, you're right. We could have
But we'll
ended up.
probably still have a full meeting, I know.
We're
but I'm
still
just
gonna
saying.
have, talking to Nick, he was saying that they could have like 4 different articles
Yeah.
just for, the water
Yeah.
department itself, so, yeah, it's gonna cut some time off in May when the weather's a little better, you might wanna get out of there.
Since we stopped and, but you're on a roll, I was gonna actually go back a couple. The Article 3, where we're giving money to the park and taking the
Enterprise.
enterprise fund, is there a reason we're doing it effective June 30th at this meeting rather than a shorter date?
Department of Revenue dictated really to Alicia on this, because we didn't actually, because we don't have free cash certified, we're doing our best guess on what free cash is gonna be. Our guess was wrong, when DOR certified the free cash, and you can add into it.
Wait, I think you're talking about Article 3, which is
Article 3,
CE,
Article
right.
3, the last thing says revoke the provision.
Right.
Ceasing the enterprise fund effective June 30th
Right.
of 2023.
So that's all, so that DOR is basically saying you can no longer have this as an enterprise fund.
Yes.
So part of this is to just officially.
I'm just asking why the date's June 30th rather than February 15th.
End of the
or-
fiscal year
Yeah.
is what they wanted to coincide with.
So it can't be immediate.
Right, and then, yeah, right, I think that was the logic, to have it coincide with the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, and then on Article 6, the CPC money, it says the original estimate was 128, we only got 109, so that's $19,000 difference, but the difference between the original and the other is 38,000? So your math is off.
I think, there may be that the description and the updated numbers that we received, which we had, I think there was a difference, the 38,000, so we can update that, Mark. So with
just-
your, with the
There's
board's
just something
permission, we can
that's
update
off
that.
in the math.
We'll
Thank you.
double check that.
I think you just picked up because the number was updated, and we've had different versions of this going along, so I think you hit the nail on the head.
By the time we did this, we've actually had 3 other versions with little typos and so forth.
Well, yeah, the one in our packet didn't have anything original, it just
Yeah.
had the.
Right, it was
so-
empty, it was empty.
And the numbers were different than that anyway, so I'm just saying, can we make sure that the numbers are consistent when we
Yes.
publish it?
And we'll email out a clean version.
People smarter than me will notice it.
Yeah. We have, because we set town meeting back a
good
week,
catch,
we have the
Mark.
rest of
Good
this
catch.
week to kind of clean that up.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's all I had on the one so far.
Okay.
I think we're on Article 9.
Article 9. Article 9 is the King Street Common Zoning District expansion that the planning board is putting forward for this town meeting. And
It's just adding Yangtze River and the Mill Building, basically, to the common, to the 550
pretty
King
much,
Street?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's the mill building?
Yeah, right there, see,
Yangtze
Yangtze in the
River.
mill building.
No,
Right.
it's more than the mill.
It's more than the mill. It's
It's
around.
also the Conant
it's-
building.
Right, everything except the, that's.
The two carve-outs are the Shell station and the mobile station.
Okay.
Wait, it's more than the mill? Oh, I see. No, it isn't more than the mill, is it?
It's that whole green spot, green.
It includes the Conant building and.
It does include the Conan building,
Yes.
wow.
And it also includes the, what's the?
It's the Asian
The
market
Asian market, the record store.
and the records. Yeah,
Really?
the,
No, it
electronics.
doesn't. No, that's not, those are in between.
Yeah, Conan.
No, it's
Oh,
just
It
the
doesn't
mill.
include Conan.
It does not
Oh, okay, I was
include
gonna
that
say, the
stuff.
Conan General Store, that's where the sub shop is. I didn't think that was part of it. I thought it was
always
the
the road.
Elastic Factory and
The
the
road's
mill.
pretty.
Oh,
far
the
down.
road's far back, right, I see.
Yeah, no,
I'm not
that,
sure, actually, because I thought it was including those buildings when I went to the.
Well, what's the intent? I mean, the intent is to,
I thought it was
This
just,
is just add
Those
that.
buildings aren't for, yeah.
Yeah, the road's in the wrong, the road's in the wrong spot there on that picture.
we-
I think it includes those buildings and the road's in the wrong spot.
We'll make sure to get that.
Because the Yangtze's on the road, and that shows it way off.
Yeah, it might just be the image, but we'll.
think it
we'll-
is the
Yeah,
image.
we'll take a look at
I think
that.
it includes those buildings, the Conant building, the Electronics Plus, the Asian.
so it does have a list, 450, 470, 476,
Okay.
486 King Street.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it does include those, okay.
Yeah, even though those already have a use.
Yeah, so you
station.
need to fix that. Well, that map will have to be, okay.
Yeah, that map is off then.
It
Thank
is.
you.
But Sal didn't buy the Conant building.
No. I
Okay.
think they're just, in the event that, I don't know.
Things get
You know.
remodeled.
You're adding it anyways. Do you just put a piece or do you just put the whole
Okay,
corner?
all
I
right.
think was their rationale.
Okay.
But I don't want to speak for the planning board.
I think that's what the planning board held a hearing last week, and that's basically what they said, is they put everything in
Okay.
that would be eligible for the same kind of zoning, and they left the gas stations out because they don't fit form-based code zoning
Right.
at all.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you, Mark.
So they
Makes
didn't
sense.
want to penalize them.
And the last thing is the planning board's firearm business zoning bylaw.
And are we going to talk about Gary's comment about accessories?
You can talk about it. It's not going to impact the current zoning that's went, because that's the planning board's, but certainly if I forwarded your email off, I think you
yeah, I
saw
talked to
that,
Tom briefly, town council. It was just some of the wording towards the end of that bylaw, when it talked about accessories.
Any device designed, modified, or adapted to be inserted into or affixed onto any firearm to enable, alter, or improve the functioning or capabilities of the firearm, or to enable the wearing or carrying about one's person of a firearm.
Yeah, so that is dangerous language in a sense that if you have, it really, you're talking holsters. You're talking a scope, things you can buy at Walmart, things you can buy at now. By the way that's written, you wouldn't, someone trying to sell things that really have nothing to do with the functioning of the weapon or the ease of the weapon becomes restrictive. So I would rather see it spelled out. If somebody doesn't want buttstocks, if the planning board doesn't want buttstocks, put it in there. Put the actual language of what you don't want, as opposed to saying all accessories, because that is, in legalese, that's way too loose of a term for me. I don't know how you can enforce, because everything would be an accessory in that regard. Anything, if you pick up, I mean, you couldn't even buy, if you were a paintballer, there's certain things that use a paintball. You wouldn't be able to buy certain things because it's used under that.
So selling those items under this bylaw is prohibited?
No, it's saying you'd have to have a license to sell it.
Like,
Oh.
they're included in,
The whole-
they're included in the bylaw as far as
Yeah.
what can be sold in these shops.
And I understand I understand the intent, absolutely. Because some of the skirting of the,
But do you need a license? You don't need a license to sell those accessories anyways, right?
you don't, you can buy it on, well,
Yeah,
that's the thing, you could buy almost all of this stuff online. Even the restricted stuff that we want in there, you could buy
Yeah.
online.
Right.
It's just, we don't want them sold in Littleton, certain things, potentially, depending on the vote here, that help enhance the way that a weapon fires. So they want it, I almost wish it was separate, that's all. When I read that, I would rather have seen it more descriptive on what exactly do we not want, that we want you to have a firearms license to be able to sell,
Okay, so, I
as
mean,
opposed to just all accessories.
Right.
It's such a loose term.
so I totally understand your objection, but as
But it's the
as
planning
you pointed
board.
out, it's the planning board, and,
So-
so I'm interested
it's
to
a
hear
good
what Tom says
question.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think if it's not a valid, or if it's a dangerous thing to put into this bylaw because it'll be challenged, I would assume that Tom would, town council would.
Right, and he said they've just started kind of reviewing and going over the specifics.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
There's still
Okay.
some work to be done here and with the planning board as well with him, so I picked up on it and I didn't want it. I didn't want someone at town meeting just to solely see the same thing that I saw and
Okay.
then be like, that doesn't make any sense.
okay.
So are there any other comments, or are we ready to move to add these articles and close the warrant?
Move the motions.
Yeah.
If not, if there's no more discussion, let's
I don't know, this is an awful long one.
do it.
Move that the select board vote to finalize insertion of the following articles onto the warrant for the February 15th, 2023 special town meeting, subject to the approval as to form by town council. 1, bill of prior years. 2, change annual town meeting date and time. 3, reprogram and rescind Park and Rec Community Education Enterprise Fund. 4, amend fiscal year 2023 budget LCTV. 5, amend fiscal year 2023 budget LELWD. 6, amend fiscal year 2023 Community Preservation Fund budget. 7, purchase of Indian Hill Music Center, 3236 King Street. 8, rescind and reprogram prior capital town meeting warrant articles. 9, King Street Common Zoning District Expansion. 10, Firearms Zoning Bylaw. And move the select board vote to order the articles as presented, and move the select board vote to close the special town meeting warrant, and move that the select board vote to approve and sign the special town meeting warrant for posting.
We done?
I hope so.
Second?
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Sydney.
And
If there's no further discussion, I will, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. No roll call vote on that?
No roll call
Okay.
vote necessary on that.
Are we going to do recommendations and article assignments?
So this is something that you don't have to do if it's, there's, if you want, you can wait and just make your motions at town meeting. If you care to, or you don't have to at all. I just want to bring that to the select board's, attention.
what's the reasoning why that's a thing? Just because it's a special?
Anytime we do a warrant, we look for the select board's recommendations and FinCom and various other boards.
Yeah.
Some of them have had more of an opportunity, like the planning board has really worked on this.
Yeah.
Maybe perhaps,
So it's their article.
yeah, perhaps this, you want to do a little bit more research and
Yeah.
you're not ready at this point in time. You don't have to be obligated to do it tonight. That's all I'm saying. You can vote on some, you can vote on none if you want.
So if we don't do it tonight, then at town meeting, someone's gonna ask on every one of them, because it's not gonna be printed in the booklet.
It won't
That's
be in the
right.
booklet.
That's
But
right.
you still could have up through February 15th that we could put it on for the next agenda, that you could take your motions, and then we would do the handout, and would include your recommendations in that handout that would be handed out during, when they check in at a special town meeting.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, I'm not comfortable, just one of the things that I just mentioned, until to find out if that is if that particular article, if that's written in stone, how it's going to be. Or it sounds like after talking to town council, that they're still reviewing and working through some of the language. So I wouldn't want to vote on something that, like that. Obviously, some of these articles are slam dunk.
Right.
I mean, are there
Right, we would include them if you take a motion.
any other ones that you wouldn't recommend?
No, and I'm not even saying I wouldn't recommend that one. I just
No,
think it's dangerous language.
I'm sorry, that you wouldn't
Setting
recommend
us up for
tonight.
some liability
You're
later
right.
on, but
Any others you wouldn't recommend tonight?
no, I don't. But I also realize that, Mr. DeCoste isn't here either.
Oh,
so
that's true too,
we're
actually.
kind of missing.
So, so without Mr. DeCoste here, I think I'm comfortable voting all of them except 7, and if you want to skip 9 and 10 as zoning for now. I think the other ones are fairly non-controversial, and there's,
1 through 6 and 8?
1 through 6 and 8.
7, 9, and 10?
Yeah.
skip
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
7's a good point.
I
because
agree with that.
I don't know.
Well, you're going to have
What we're gonna do
discussions
with-
during the
No.
budget meeting, so.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So let's vote to recommend 1 through 6 and 8 tonight,
So moved.
second.
okay? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion made by Gary, seconded by Cindy for the record.
Okay, and we'll
One-
update it in the report. That's
1 through 6 and 8.
1 through 6 and 8. And
7.
1 through 6 and 8.
1
Yeah.
through 6.
I thought you said 1, 6,
No,
okay.
no, 1, 2, 6, and
Sorry.
8.
Forthcoming on the,
And 4.5.
1 through 6 and 8.
8, okay, so we're leaving 7,
7, 9,
9,
and 10.
and 10 as our.
Because we'll have a chance to talk to FinCom about King Street, and we're clearly going to have more conversations about the firearm bylaw.
Okay,
So we were just
Right.
listing those forthcoming.
Okay.
yeah, that's right, so as per our regular practice.
Also, the map in the,
We have to fix that.
no, but the map in the actual report in here is correct.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so I was scrolling through the warrant in the packet, and it looked right. So there's something
So it's
weird
just
about
in
the
the
other one,
slide.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like I said, we've had,
yeah, and Mark's recommendation about changing the language for the PS, the article for CPC too. We'll make that adjustment too.
Right.
Okay.
yeah, I don't particularly like voting on articles before FinCom does. I know that sounds, I mean, because they're up there with us, and it's the
Yeah.
budget. A lot of these, it's kind of like, well, what does FinCom recommend? What is the recommendation?
Yeah.
I mean,
So it does play into the process.
I guess if FinCom does not recommend one, I would revisit our recommendation.
That's true, we can
Yeah,
always
we
do
could
that.
always
I
do
think
that.
we're safe with the ones we did, but
I think so.
they're.
Yeah, it's a good point, though.
Okay.
Sign,
All right.
yeah, do we have, yeah.
sign too.
So,
The last thing, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
Last thing is assigning articles. Now, most of these are, I would imagine, are going to go through on the consent agenda, especially perhaps the ones you just said, 1 through 6. Maybe 7, 8, 9, and 10 might have a question. But, 10 would be, 9 and 10 would be planning boards. You don't necessarily need
Right.
anybody to speak on that.
Well, Chuck's not here, so I vote that Chuck takes 1 through 8.
It's hardcore.
What about 7?
1 through, yeah.
Yeah, what about 7, though? Who wants 7?
Yeah,
Give them a
seven's
shout
probably
out.
the toughest one.
We'll probably put together a PowerPoint presentation.
We're gonna have
explain
to.
that.
Yeah, we need to
I'll probably
talk that
give
through.
So why don't we just not do why don't we not do
Yeah, why don't we
assignments?
just wing
Assignments, leave
it?
it off, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine, just want to bring it to your attention, sure.
All right, 8A, state legislatures.
Yeah, so, something that used to happen when Keith was here is that every March, our state legislators came before the board and talked about what was going up in the state house and what initiatives that they may have going forward. And it was also a time for the board to share with them on some of your goals and priorities and issues that are important to the town, to make sure that they're aware, advocating, as they always do, for the town. So, thought about bringing that back and invite them to a meeting in March to have that discussion.
I'm in favor of that,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think it's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll work on sending out an invitation to them for a meeting in March. Maybe that's
Jim and
second.
Jim and Jamie?
Jim and Jamie,
Yeah,
yes.
great, that's a great idea.
Plus just meeting new board members that may not.
That's true, too, yeah, no,
Right.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good time to ask for earmarks, Walter.
all right.
And the other thing that I have is, Tom McLaughlin, who's on our wellness committee, he's an employee in IT, put together a grant through Maya, who is our insurance company, and they awarded us a $15,000 grant for the purchase of exercise equipment. So
Good for
staff
him.
is really excited
That's
about
awesome.
something like that.
2 treadmills.
And
Wow.
so what we're looking for is to be able to set those up in the Cooper room and use that for staff to be able to do some exercising before or after work, perhaps even during lunch.
That's great.
So
Yeah, that's great.
there just might be a little bit of electrical that we might need, so we do have some money in that space needs account that we could look at that. Depending on the contract, it would come back for the board anyways for an update, but we're just looking to proceed and go out and purchase this with the board's blessing, and then move forward with getting that room set up.
Absolutely. I'm totally in favor.
Yeah, it's great.
No vote?
I'm kind of getting a consensus right now.
Yeah.
I don't see any objections.
No,
so-
I mean, I'm 100% in
Oh,
favor.
that's
Okay.
awesome.
All
Yeah,
right.
go
It was
for
just
it.
something we wanted to bring forward, make sure you were aware of it.
Thank you.
And it's not 8:05, but that's.
No, we didn't do too badly,
Wow,
actually.
look at us.
Yeah, for running.
Minutes of December 19th, has everyone reviewed them, and does anyone have corrections? If not, we'll take a motion.
Move the select board vote to approve the meeting minutes from the December 19th, 2022 meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Mark, seconded by Cindy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
You just missed that last line that said contingent
Subject.
upon inclusion of the listing of meeting exhibits.
What was on the sheet?
Amended, so amended.
We changed it because they didn't have a chance to include those in there, but that's fine.
Should we vote on the amended motion
Yeah,
then?
amended.
All those in favor of the amended motion, say aye.
Which was Mark and seconded by Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then, okay,
exactly.
that's what I thought I heard.
Aye.
The motion carries 4-0, and now I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Made by Cindy, seconded by Mark. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you, Littleton. Good night.
Okay.
You're on, Mark.